Right, so to draw your floor plan, you click where it says New Floor Plan and you type in the address of the property. The more address you can put in there, the better, because the system will check something called a plan bank, which is a list of all of the archived plans that our customers have drawn over the years. It might be for the same street, it might be in the nearby. The house could be similar to other houses in that area. So you could click on any of these results and open them onto the drawing page to see if they're any good. Obviously, that will be up to you to check for accuracy, because we can't verify the accuracy of any of these floor plans. So once you open them onto the drawing page, you could amend them and save them for your own use. The third option here, Auto Draw, that is where you would send us a sketch or a plan that you found and we would draw it up for you, but that obviously comes at an extra cost. So I'm going to click where it says Start Drawing Now. And the drawing page loads up. And you start by clicking where it says Room at the top. You get a little dot stuck to your mouse, and you set that down on the corner where you want your new room to start, and you drag it out diagonally across to the opposite corner of your new room. When you let go, the system asks you to name it, so you choose first of all from the list of basic room types down the left-hand side, and then you choose a room description. If what you want is not listed, you can simply place your cursor in that field and you can type in anything you want. You're not limited to our selections. Underneath that, where it says ceiling height, you can leave that. To be honest, when you're drawing a 2D floor plan, the ceiling height doesn't come into play very much. It could be pertinent if you're adding split levels or if you're preparing a 2D floor plan that you want to turn into 3D, but largely the ceiling height is irrelevant when you're drawing a 2D floor plan. So you click OK. We'll put some rooms together. So if I click Add Room again, I get another dot stuck to my mouse. I set that down on the corner where I want my new room to start and drag it out diagonally across to the opposite corner of my new room. When I let go of the mouse, it asks me to name it. So I choose a room type, choose a room description, click OK. Now you'll see at the moment the drawing page is in metric. You do have the option to change that. So this would only be for your own personal drawing preference. You can choose to work in metric or in imperial. You go to the options menu and you can choose there. Like I say, this is just for your own personal drawing preference. The finished plan by default would show both types of measurements if you choose to have measurements at all. Just a quick note about measurements. While we do give you the option to draw a very accurate floor plan, you don't have to be too painstaking about getting the measurements exactly right, because there is an option at the end to simply overtype any incorrect measurements. So while it's always better to use a sketch and measurements that you've taken at the property to get the proportions right, if you've had to tweak the plan here and there in order for it to look right, then that's fine, because you can overtype at the end what should be displayed on the finished plan. So when it looks like you're running out of space to draw, you're not. There's absolutely loads of drawing space. If you click and drag on the grid, you'll see there's lots and lots of room to draw. So you just simply move your plan around the page in order to see it all. Now, obviously moving internal walls changes the shape of the rooms around it. But if you need to do something like perhaps a bay window, you would need to actually change the shape of the wall. We don't have a symbol for a bay. You would need to draw it out yourself. So to do that, you're going to use the mouse and double click on the wall twice, window width apart. This is not measured. This is just something that you would do by eye. You don't really need to know how, wide that window is. You just need to know roughly how much space it takes up. So once you've drawn those 2 dots, you'll see that these sections of wall have become isolated. So if I put my mouse over the section of wall between the 2 dots, I can drag it down. Now I have like a box shape window. And if it's a more traditional shape bay, I can put my mouse on the corner dots and drag them in towards each other. And that will create angled side bits on my window. Similarly, I could drag the dots that are actually on the main wall, and that would create the same effect. So that's how you would create a bay window. And once you were happy with the shape that you've made, then you would simply drag and drop a symbol onto each aspect. So all of the symbols here, you simply click and drag onto the plan. Now you can see that this window doesn't necessarily fill this section of wall. So if I click on it, I now get some little orange squares around the corners, and I simply drag them out, and the window will fill the space. I can do that for all of them. So that's how you would change the actual shape of a room. So if you had, for instance, an L-shaped kitchen, if I double click on the wall roughly where I want it to become L-shaped, I get a little dot. I can then drag sections of wall to make the shape that I want. And remember, dragging a corner dot will give you an angle. So let's say, for instance, this living room had an angled entrance. I could do that to change the shape. If you make a change that you don't want to, just simply line it back up again. If you've made a dot you don't want, just drag it onto the nearest corner dot and it will disappear. So now I've drawn out the shape of my downstairs, I can drag and drop any symbols that I need. So I'll pop a door on, add a door into each of the rooms. Now, if you want to change, for instance, the way that the door opens, you just double click on it and you get a little tooltip that pops up. And you can see the options for what we can do with the symbol here. So in the case of a door, we can flip it so that it's hinged on the other side. If you want it to open in a different direction, just drag it. If you need it to make it bigger or smaller, you just grab the squares that have appeared on the corners of it, and you can drag that to make it bigger or smaller. Similarly, if you add a symbol that you didn't want, then you just hit this little delete button and it will disappear. So all the symbols you just drag and drop into place and amend them or adjust them by double clicking on them. So single click on them. So single click, it brings up the tooltip, it also brings up the sizing squares, and you can make them the size they need to be. We've got base units here that you would use in the kitchen or bathroom. If you've got units that go all the way along one wall, you just simply place one unit on the plan and then drag it all the way across so it's the length that you need it to be. And then I can pop a sink on there. Again, if I wanted to change that, I could flip it over so that the drainer was on the other side. I can add a hob, make that as big as it needs to be. We could add some doors into the dining room and a door to the outside. If you had something like a kitchen island, for instance, you'll see that when you drag a symbol onto the plan, it sticks to the walls immediately. But if you click on it and bring up the tooltip, you can see there's an arrow with a line above it. If I click that, it will free up the symbol so I can move it away from the wall. I can then resize it, and this little blue dot here allows me to rotate it to any angle that I want. So that's how I would make a kitchen island. Now, once you've drawn out your rooms on your lower level, let's just add a door from the hallway into the kitchen. Once you've drawn out your rooms on your lower level, then you can change floors by simply clicking on the Floors tab. And it says there, a new floor's been added named First Floor. So I can see the blue outline of the downstairs, and I'll draw directly over the top of that. So if I click the room symbol, the room icon at the top here, I get a dot stuck to my mouse, and I'll use the blue outline downstairs as a guide. So I'm going to draw over this hallway space, and I'm going to call it landing, because I'm going to have my stairs coming up from the hallway downstairs and onto this landing. Of course, all houses aren't going to be the same shape upstairs as they are down, but at least one wall is going to be the same, and that's the wall that the stairs come up against. So if I have my stairs coming up against this outside wall in the hallway downstairs, then I'm going to want a corresponding wall directly above it. Because even though you're drawing in 2D, the system is geared up for 3D. So you have to imagine when you're drawing your plan that you're looking down on your house with the roof sliced off and how that would look a level at a time. So the wall that the stairs come up against on the ground floor has to have a corresponding wall directly above it, or otherwise the stairs will appear skewed and stretched on the finished plan. So if my upper level wall was, like that, the stairs would cling to the inside of the wall below and then cling to the inside of the wall above, and they would appear stretched. So it does need to be directly over the top. Once you've got your landing space in, you can make it bigger than it needs to be because you can resize it afterwards. It's always better to make your landing bigger so you can get your stairs in, adjust it afterwards if necessary. You see we've got a stairs tab here. So I'm going to go back downstairs, and you can see above the hallway, you can just see the green outline. Obviously the rest of the walls are kind of obscured. You can just see a slight green haze. That's just so we can see the floor above. Obviously on your finished plan you won't see the outlines of the various floors because the floors will all be laid out either next to each other or one above each other. So this is just on the drawing page. You get to see the outlines of the floors above and below, so you know exactly where you're drawing in relation to. So now that I'm downstairs, I'm going to click on the Stairs tab, and there are preset stair shapes that I can choose from. So I'm going to have my stairs coming up from the ground floor and then doing a little turn at the top. So I choose a set of stairs that would do that for me, and here they are. I'm going to drag these stairs onto the plan, and I can make them as big as they need to be. So maybe they start a bit further down. I can pull that bottom step down. I also have some resizing squares that have appeared on the sides, and if I pull those, I can make the stairs wider. I can then obviously reposition the stairs exactly where I want them to go. If I go upstairs now, I can see that the stairs are in place on my upper level and they're exactly where I wanted them to go. If you wanted this upper run to be a little bit longer, you can just simply pull the top step. That's a little too long. Now if the stairs go red, that's because there's something wrong with them. If I make them a bit shorter, now the system is happy enough with those. If I make the stairs too long, the system works, because it's geared up for 3D, it works on a default ceiling height of around 7'7". If you put too many stairs in, there's not the ceiling height to do that, so the system can't create the stairs if they're just far too long, because it would mean that the ceiling height would need to be much higher in order to accommodate that many stairs. So if your stairs turn red at any point, like that, then there's something wrong with them and you need to check. So if I make these a bit shorter now, the system is happy with that. Or I can similarly have it the way it was initially, so that it's just a quick turn and then down. So that's how you would add a set of stairs. You could just drag a shape on and then adjust the shape as you need to. Once you've got your stairs in place, then you can add the rest of your rooms on your upper level. And if that more or less follows the shape of the downstairs, then that's great, because you can use your outline as a guide. And if you have things like a bay window, again, you can see exactly where it needs to go, because you can follow the outline again. So it's just a case of building up your rooms on your upper level and then adding any bits and pieces afterwards. So in the case of storage or built-in storage, you would draw that in as you would any other room. You can see I've added an ensuite to this bedroom. Just draw that in and add a door there. If there was built-in storage in this room, I could click Add Room, and I could draw in, maybe it's the full length of the wall. I could draw in some wardrobe space and choose the storage room type. And now I've added that, I can pop some doors on. Perhaps there's some sliding doors on here. That's how you would add any storage. If there was any storage kind of over the stairs here, again, you would just draw it in. So maybe there's an airing cupboard on the landing here. Now, don't worry that the stairs are obscuring it. On the finished plan, they won't show as building through that wall. That's just so you can still see them on the drawing page. The system will actually cut them off before it hits that wall, so it won't show the full staircase building through it. Let's just add some more rooms here. Add a bathroom and maybe this bedroom here has a balcony coming off. If you want to draw any external space, again, you would just click Add Room, and you would draw it in as you would any other room. But you'd use the balcony room type. That's the only external room type there is. So you would choose the balcony room type, and if it was indeed a balcony, then you can leave it as so. Or you can choose any of the other options here. If it was a garden or a patio or a sun terrace, you've got these options here. So we'd use the balcony room type for any external space, not just balconies. And I can add a door onto the balcony. Let's pop a door into the bathroom. We've got bathroom fixtures and fittings here. And again, you could just make them the size they need to be. And we need a door there into the master bedroom. We pop a window in the bathroom. If you had a curved bay window, I'm just going to move this bay window out of the way by dragging the dots back into line with the main wall. I'm just going to slide those onto the nearest dot and they'll disappear. If this upstairs window wasn't an angled bay and it was perhaps a curved, like a bow window, like a smooth curve, there is the option to do that. I would still double click twice to mark out the width of the window. Then if I click on this, if I right click on the center of the wall here, I get this menu that pops up, and you can see the option that says create curve. If I click on that, I now have a dot in the middle of the wall that I can pull, and that creates a curve shape. And you can obviously move this around to make it as shallow or as deep as that curve needs to be. Once you're happy with the shape, then you would simply drag a window pane onto that curve. If I click on it, I get the sizing squares and I can drag them right round so the window fills the width of the curve. Or if there were several small windows, I could resize one, move it round, click on it, and there's a duplicate option. So now I've got two windows, the same, of equal length. So that's how you would add a curve to your plan. If you had more levels, then you would simply click on the Floors tab again and add whichever level is appropriate. So if there was a second floor here, I could click on the Floors tab and I can add a floor above, or I can add a floor below. And you would just simply see the outline again of the floor below. You would draw your rooms out and add the stairs as appropriate. To change between floors, you simply click on the thumbnail of the floor you want to be on to hop between the floors. Okay, you do have some other options here. Let's have a look. If you had particularly thick outside walls, we can set the wall thickness. So I can use this sliding rule to make the wall thicker. And you can see, I move that out of the way, that this side wall here has become much thicker than the rest. It might be that all of the external walls are that thick, in which case I can tick this little tick box to apply that new thickness to all of the external walls. If I click OK, you'll see that that's happened. If you have a quirky house that has varying wall thicknesses, then obviously you can do this on an individual wall basis. So if I click Set Wall Thickness, I can simply decide to just have a really thick wall that separates the lounge and the dining room. If you want to edit a room name, you want to change it, you just simply right-click on that room and you get the Edit menu. So you just right-click, Edit Room, and you can call it anything you want, Entrance Hall. If you want to delete a room that you've made, again, just right-click, Delete Room. The room goes green. If I click on it now, it will disappear. If I didn't want to do that, if I didn't mean to do that, I've got some undo arrows and redo arrows at the top of the page. So if you do anything by accident, you can click undo or redo and it will put it right. If I had some under stairs storage, I've already drawn the stairs in, but if I click to add a room, I can just draw over this space. If I know that the stairs go right across the top of a cupboard, I can just draw that in, choose the storage room type, and I can add a door there. So even though I can't really see it because the stairs are building through it, again, on the finished plan, the stairs will be cut off at that point. While you're drawing your plan, you get the option to save it as you go. So there's a save button here, and if I click that, it will save a version of the plan where I'm at. So if you do need to leave your plan at any point, you can just save it as a draft. Let's just explain a few things on these menus here. You've got the option here to rotate or flip your floor plans. These are quite handy if you've drawn a floor plan of a property and you take on another one that's perhaps in the same street, but maybe it's on the other side of the road. It could be exactly the same layout, but it's all on the other side. Or you found a plan on the plan bank and you think, yes, that's actually the right shape, but it's all on the other side. You can simply open the plan up and just flip it over. So you've got the option to flip it horizontally or vertically. And you'll see it all stays exactly the same, but everything is now on the other side. I could flip it top to bottom. On the symbols tab, these are the most basic symbols that most people tend to use. Doors and windows. You've got things like a fireplace here. A block symbol. That's quite handy if you've got something taking up space. That's not a room. Like for instance, a significant chimney breast. You might want to put something in there to show that something's taking up space. Or you've got like a recess on either side. And you would just pop the block icon on there, and that will naturally create a recess on each side of it. We've got advanced symbols, which are just more of the same thing. So different types of sink and hob, corner baths, corner showers, etc. And then we've got all symbols listed by symbol type and room type. And the option here, visible in 3D. These are all the symbols that if you place them on your 2D floor plan will appear in exactly the same place in 3D. So you can fully furnish your plans. Most people tend to stick to the basics at least. Now, what else have we got here? Oh yes, the rotation options. There are also shortcut keys, so you can use the H and the V here to flip your plan over. You've also got the save options are on this menu, on the file menu, as well as on the top right hand corner. So if I'm ready to finish my plan, I can either go to File and click Plan Complete here, or I can click the Complete option on this top right hand corner. So if I was happy with my plan, I could click Complete, and this will finalize the floor plan. So the address pops up. That's the address that we first put in there. The public description, you can leave that blank. Most people tend to, but anything you type in there will be displayed at the bottom of the finished plan itself. So if I clicked copy from private, it will copy down the private reference that I'd entered already, or I could click enter manually and type something in there. Otherwise, click no description. Floor area. Be careful with this one. The system will comfortably estimate your floor plan area, but you need to make sure that you've managed to stay within the measurements that you've taken reasonably accurately. If you've deviated massively from the measurements, then the system is going to estimate an area that is probably quite wrong. So you've got the option to either click Don't Show, or you can click Enter manually. So if you know what the area should be, you can type it in there and it will override what's on the system. Because if you show the estimated area, it's going to estimate it on your drawing, not from any manual measurements that you enter at the end. You get the option of choosing a layout. So if you want your floors side by side or one above the other, then you can choose those here. Or we also have an option here for a direction arrow. So if I just cancel this, I should have done that before. There's an arrow here, which is a compass. If I click on it, I can activate it. And when I click on it, I can spin it and select the direction of north in relation to the floor plan. So I click Plan Complete again. I click OK at the bottom of this box. And this is where I'll check all of the room sizes. So we can go through each room in turn. It highlights it on the floor plan in orange. And it might be that on the entrance hall I don't want to show measurements, so I'll click No Measurements for that. If I click on the lounge, oops, it might be that those measurements are correct. Or it might be that I didn't get them quite right. So maybe it wasn't 6.91, maybe it's 6.95, for instance. You can type in the measurements here. You'll see if I type them in, nothing actually changes on the floor plan. So it's going to just override what's displayed on the finished plan itself. So you click through each room in turn and adjust the measurements where necessary. If you've got something that you don't want measurements for, so in the case of this cupboard, I can click no measurements and that will remove the measurements just for that cupboard. Click on the landing, maybe I don't want measurements for that either. And then go through each of the rooms in turn and choose whether or not the measurements are correct. Maybe that's 7 meters. This is a very big plan. Once you've gone through all of your measurements and you're happy that everything is correct, then you would simply click Send to Metropix. Or if you've noticed while you're going through these that something is wrong with the floor plan, you can click Cancel, and that will take you back onto the drawing page where you can do whatever you need to do. But when you come back here, any changes that you've made, if you've put in a long list of amendments, they will still be there. You don't have to enter them all again. And when you're happy with everything, you click Send to Metropix, and this processes the finished plan for you. So you just keep clicking refresh to see the finished plan. It usually just takes a few moments for the system to process that. Keep clicking refresh, and we'll at some point see the finished plan just below this grey box here. And there it is. So you've got the floors laid out. This is how your finished plan would look if we downloaded it. If you're happy with the finished plan and you want to download it, then you simply click the download button. As you can see, you get the option to put a watermark on your floor plans. Obviously, that would be relating to your own company. You can download the floor plan, the watermark onto your account, and that will sit behind every plan that you do. If you are happy with your plan and you also want to upgrade it, then you have this button here that says Free Upgrades. And if I select that, you get all of the available upgrades for the plan. Now, colour floor plans and Picture Plus plans are always free. The rest of them are chargeable, unless you're on a premium subscription, in which case your 3D floor plans will be included in that. So we click Next. If we've chosen a colour option, I can click to confirm the order. It's free anyway. And I can wait for that to come through. Again, that takes the same amount of time as it does to process just a regular plan. So if I click My Plans, I can see it's processing there. And as soon as this colour upgrade has finished processing, this plan will drop down into the list. These are the most recent 20 floor plans, but you can search for any plan that you've made on the system by using this Search for More option. If you choose the keyword search, you can type in just a part of an address of a plan that you've done, and it will bring up that plan for you. So if I view this floor plan now, it's got some colour options on there. I can see that this has actually been customised so that it only has blue walls. But you can choose any colours you like. You can choose to have just coloured walls, you can have coloured rooms, you can have the Metropix default colours. If you look at your finished plan and you notice that there's something not right, you can just click Open Edit, and it will open it back onto the drawing page where you can do whatever you need to do and then save the plan again. And that is it. If we go back to your My Plans page, to start a new floor plan, click New Floor Plan and go through that process again.